Good evening. Thank you for joining us on New London Republicans, the party that's looking out for you. Tonight's show is hosted by me, Bill Vogel, and we have a number of things to talk to you about. But I guess I'd like to first say is the snow's still melting. It's almost gone now. And yes, the crocuses are starting to poke up, and so spring sounds like it's underway. I hate to remind you that it's probably time to change the oil in your lawnmower because you'll probably be needing it in about 3 or 4 weeks. and you might as well catch the snowblower while you're at it because it probably had a pretty darn good workout this last winter. So anyway, it looks like spring will get here, and none too soon as far as I'm concerned. Let's hope it's safe to put away snow blowers and things like that, snow shovels now, and all those good things that get in the way of the beach chairs and that kind of thing. So we'll be getting into that. Just before I get started on the details of the agenda here, what I'd like to just mention is boy, I got a shocker last night. I went to the mayor's State of the City speech, and to listen to mostly what I was interested in is what kind of a budget he was going to be asking for. I kind of anticipated that he would come in on the low side because he's running for re-election, and so I kind of thought, well, he probably will come in with a 2% increase. After all, he had an $800,000 surplus this year, so I didn't see where there was any big need to really drive up the cost. But my gosh, he came in looking for a 6% increase in the municipal budget. That's on top of a 6% increase on the Board of Ed budget. And we'll get into some of the details of how that translates into a 6% overall increase of the total budget and why that results in a 12% tax increase. So we'll get into some of those details because I know that some of the people I've talked to were trying to figure that one out. But I'm still trying to figure out, why would the mayor do that? Well, I think it sort of comes down to the same reason that he wants to put the referendum, and it wasn't reported in the paper today, but it was very clearly said at his speech last night that he intends to have just a November referendum. He does not intend to have what normally would be required. If there was a petition, and there probably will be on the budget, then what would happen is the city council would accept the petition and then move it to referendum. The referendum would probably take place, let's say, in August, and before the budget. The budget actually they start spending money against this new budget as of July 1st. So if the referendum is in August, why then you're only a month or so into it. However, if you push it off to November, then you're already months into it, so it's almost impossible. It's probably, I'm sure in his mind, the mayor's mind, it's impossible to change the budget. So what it really amounts to is a sort of a spit in the face to the taxpayer or to the voters that would want to vote on the budget. So because what happens is it becomes when it moves all the way to November, then it's the chances of the voter having an impact, there's almost no point in voting on it if the referendum is going to be in November, because the money's already largely spent and probably would not be changed even if the voters vote the referendum, because in the past we've had the city attorney say, well, we spent more than 25% of the budget, so we can't really make any changes, and silliness like that. So the honest and the proper and the right and appropriate thing to do would be, if you have a petition against the budget, then you ought to schedule a referendum at a point in time when it makes sense to have it, like in August. Now, the mayor, of course, said the reason why he wants it in November is he didn't tell you that it's because it wouldn't have any meaning at that point in time. What he tells you is, well, more people can vote on it, and everybody's going to be getting out to vote, and you won't just have those nasty taxpayers voting on it that might vote it down. So what he's counting on is having what he's counting on is having the 70% of the people in New London that do not pay taxes directly. They'd be renters, they pay indirectly because basically their landlord's going to be paying the tax. So what the normal renter is not going to see anything on his lease until he comes up for redo his lease, and then he's going to see a big jump, and some of it's going to be due to taxes. But you know, that's a little bit off there for a lot of people. So they're not really paying much attention to the issues on the budget, where the property owner who's going to be paying it directly in January and July, he knows that he's putting out thousands of dollars each one of those times, and he's going to be very, very sensitive to it, and he's going to come out and vote in that August referendum, and he probably is going to say a 12% tax increase is way too much, which of course it really is. And then what would happen is then the city council would have to take it back and adjust it and all those kind of things. So the mayor kind of thinks he's going to finesse that by pushing it off to November. Now, even at the New London Day, in their editorials have said that that would be a very inappropriate thing to do. I mean, it's really it's a disingenuous, it's inappropriate, it's dishonest. You know, and so what we have to count on is that the city council will come forward and set up a vote at an appropriate time, let's say in August. Now, the way that works is that if you're going to have a special election, which a referendum would be in August, then I think you have to get 5 out of the 7 councilors to vote for it. And so that means that, you know, so if you don't get those 5, then basically it's blocked and it goes to November where it has no meaning. So that's what they did last year. And, you know, people just can't, you can't allow those kind of things to happen because they're dishonest, they're disingenuous, they're just really wrong. I mean, it's really, really wrong to do that. And for some of the reasons I mentioned, which are, one, by the time November comes around, it's too late to change the budget. So it's just really wrong. And then of course he's trying, like I say, he's trying to finesse it so he's not going to have to deal with the taxpayers. He's going to deal with people that aren't paying taxes directly. And that would be most of the people in New London. So that's kind of how he got those 5 questions through last time, even though people ended up voting yes on on these questions, one of which was, do you want to raise your taxes a bunch, like 10%? And people came in and voted yes, you know, and it didn't make any difference because it was in November. If they had voted no, they probably would have said that's too late anyway. We got to go forward with the budget as written. But that's the kind of thing that happened. So the councilors that did that last time really need to, you know, we really need to expose that if that happens. And that should not discourage people from trying to get together and petition this budget. What will happen is the budget has to be, it'll be rolled out by the mayor. I don't know if he's actually got the numbers rolled out yet. He said he knows what it is because he said it's a 6% increase. Then he's got to roll out he's got to roll it out to the city council. The city council will then start doing their evaluations, and the city council has to approve the budget before June 30th. And when it does get approved, let's say sometime in June, then if they approve what the mayor's submitting, which let's hope they bring some common sense to it and knock it back. But then once it's approved by the city council, then the mayor, you know, signs the ordinances. There's 2, one for the Board of Ed, one for the city, and then it's appropriate to bring it to petition it and petition both of those ordinances and get those in. So that would then come to the council in July. The council would then set a referendum for August, and there would be a vote. And if they keep it at 12%, it probably will be defeated. And then the cycle can start again. But it gets to be really nasty. Now, over the tour of Mayor Fidencio, he's raised the budget is increased by about 12% but the taxes have increased about 24%. So and so we're going to get into why that's the case. But so he's increased taxes really significant. And that's in 3 budgets, because the first budget he got was really prepared by the previous administration, and then he had the next 3, including this one, which includes this one. So so you have that situation there. So in three budget cycles, he's increased taxes 12%. I mean, he's increased the budget by 12%, and he's increased taxes by about 24%. So it's and then of course you have the situation where you have that big a tax increase on the taxpayers in New London. Then people are surprised that, well, the value of the houses in New London is going down like 3% a year, and there's lots of vacancies. That's if you can sell a house in New London, and people are just there's not much reason to live in New London with the kind of taxes that we have here. And the mayor had a whole cacophony of reasons why he needed to increase taxes, none of which really made sense. I mean, why would he have to go 6%? I could see maybe if you said there was some inflation and there was some of this and some of that, then you could see where he would say, well, okay, I maybe need to go up 2%. But to go up 6% is really, really a lot. And the surplus that he had, ending, that he's projecting for the end of this year, is 848 000. Actually, it's 163. So $848,163. So that's a pretty good surplus. I was actually kind of pleased that they were going to be able to show a surplus like that. But any credit for the surplus has long been drawn out by the fact that these guys have, are still going to look for a 6% tax increase, which is really, really pretty gross in my estimation. The areas that the surplus, where they ran the surplus, was the city. The city spent less, spent $93,000 less than it had budgeted, with the savings largely coming from education budget at $96,000, employee benefits at $172,000, city council budget at $105,000, public works at $78,000, and the mayor's office at $48,000. And then there were some overruns that were like $172,000 in the police, $172,000 in the police department, and $159,000 in the fire department, $91,000 in the finance department. So it all adds up to a budget surplus of $848,000. So then you'd say, okay, well, that's really good. You came in under, so we're proud of you for doing that. But to turn around and then say I need a 6% increase in the municipal budget and a 6% increase in the total budget, the board of each one of these budgets is going up. The Board of Ed's going up by 6%, and the municipal is going up by 6%. And so the total goes up by 6%. So basically, we're looking at going from about $85 million total to $90 million, a $5 million increase. Okay, so you might ask, well then, why, if the budget's gone up 6%, why then does the taxes go up 12%? Well, the reason really comes down to the fact that in those budgets, the taxpayers, in the $90 million budget, half of it is paid by the state and the feds. In the case of education, it's the ECS funding, which is going to hold steady. The governor's holding that steady. That's educational. Let's see, I always forget what ECS stands for. I can remember in a minute. But anyway, that's your educational fund, the education something supplement. But anyway, that's or sharing, education cost sharing. That's what it is for the schools. And so they pay about half the cost of the school budget, and of the part that we're talking about, not grants, but of the school budget. And then between the feds and the state, various and sundry things, the municipal budget is funded about halfway by the citizens, the taxpayers. So half of the budget is not going to, the part that the state and the feds are going to provide will not go up anything. The governor's holding everything the same, and we're lucky that he didn't reduce it. So it's holding the same. So if this part that the state and the feds are providing stays the same, then all the increase, which is the $5 million, all has to be come from the taxpayers, which means that basically the taxpayers it ends up being where it's a 6% increase overall, it's a 12% increase for the taxpayer. So if you do the math a little bit, if you think of it as just rough numbers, let's say it's $50,000 for education, $50,000 for municipal, for a total of $100,000. Let's say it goes up $6,000, then you have a 6% increase. But if the taxpayers have to pay the entire $6,000, then and they're providing $50,000 otherwise, then basically they're paying their percentage increase that they have to make up is twice what the overall percentage is. And so it's 12%. Some people had made the mistake of thinking, well, if the board goes up 6% and the city goes up 6%, then that adds up to a 12% increase in the budget. No, if they both go up the same amount, then the total goes up that amount. So it's a 6% increase in the budget, but like I said, because half of the budget is not going to be, because the feds and the state aren't going to increase anything that they provide in terms of revenue, then the property tax payers are going to have to pay the difference, and they're going to pay the whole increase, and that's why it's twice as much. If you have any questions on that, just give me a call, because there was some confusion on it. But boy, are we getting rocked. I mean, it was about a 10% increase last year, 12% this year, and every year it's been over 5%. So I mean, going into now double digits. I just don't see how the people of New London can take that. I don't see how the city can prosper. One of the things that the mayor went on and on about is, we need it so badly, and in the end, this investment, Democrats always like to, liberal progressives always like to say that it's an investment. When they raise your taxes and spend your money, they're calling it an investment, and it's going to pay off someday. God knows when. Of course, it's really not going to pay off, because what they're really doing is where they say they're going to be increasing, making the city more attractive by increasing taxes, they're really making it a whole lot less attractive, and they're lowering property values because, like we talked about before, if you increase the taxes, then when the bank figures out how much you can pay on your mortgage, they're going to drop down the amount they're going to lend you to compensate for the fact that you have to pay these larger property taxes. And that has the effect of lowering the value of your house if you have to sell. So my gosh, why do they do that? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. If the municipal had a surplus and you had maybe 2% inflation, I don't know how you can sit there and look at, three times more than inflation. It just doesn't make any sense. Then you got the Board of Education that's going up 6%. Remember last year the board went up 2%, and they did fine. They came in with a surplus. Like I told you, the surplus that they provided to the city was, $96,000. And so, that's good for them. That's what you'd expect them to do. But nevertheless, they were able to function very nicely, by all appearances, on the budget they had last year. Came in with a little bit of a surplus, and now they're talking about increasing 6%. The excuses given for that were a 1% teacher raise. Okay, a 1% increase on the staff salary when most of your budget is salary. That's going to cause the 1%. There's no doubt about that. But then they said they have 8% increase due to benefits. Well, benefits are a much smaller part, of the budget, so that doesn't really translate into a huge increase in the budget. And then they said, well, we got about 350 more students coming in, and that's going to require, more staff and that kind of more staff and more stuff in order to take care of that many more students. That's about a 10% increase in the staffing and the number of students in the New London schools. So you could see if they had to pay for all those 350 students, then that you could see where that might look like a 6% tax increase, because you're really significantly increasing the number of students. However, that number of students is roughly half out of district. They're magnet school kids coming in, and the magnet school kids come in with their tuition from their locality that they're coming from, and $3,000 per student from the state. So that amount of money should more than cover the increase in the out-of-district kids, the magnet school kids, and that should be enough to more than cover an increase in the in-district kids. So it's really hard to see how the board is making a case for a 6% tax increase. And I guess the thing that bothers me the most about this is the fact that who's looking out for the New London taxpayer? I mean, it looks like nobody cares. It looks like nobody that's responsible cares. I'm really shocked that the board would come in with an increase like that. I'm surprised that the new superintendent would sort of make his debut with a kick in the head like that. And I haven't seen anything that really describes why it has to be that way, especially considering the fact that part of this has to do with magnet school people coming in. Remember, the magnet schools, the idea of the magnet school, one of the ideas is that we're going to get money from the state to help offset, to more than offset the cost as an incentive to do it. And so the cost of the magnet school we should be getting a net revenue gain on magnet schools, not an extra cost. So I don't know how they're justifying that. I think it's really pushing things in the wrong direction, and people are going to have to wake up and see what's going on. I mean, we really can't let this stuff go on. In the case of the municipal budget, like I said, there's been no concrete reason given by the mayor. He had a whole litany of things like, we can go into some of the details on it. It really sounded like much to do about nothing. We certainly have our work, that's not it. Let's see, I think it's over here someplace. What he's quoted as saying, "The hard truth remains, the path to a better New London comes with a price. No magic bullet is going to make that price go away," Finenzio said, "but the money we collectively pay to educate our children, to keep our residents safe, to improve our roads and maintain our buildings is an investment which pays dividends in our quality of life, helps grow jobs, and expands economic opportunities for our youth. Ultimately, these investments," here we go with this is the progressive liberal, "ultimately, these investments will pay dividends in raising property values, increasing New London revenues, and reducing our tax burden. But we must invest now to see the future returns." What a bunch of BS. I mean, I get shocked by this kind of stuff. It's it's like he thinks you're stupid, And like Marty Olson said, what about the Ackley situation where he's paying $108,000 a year for the chief of police that is on vacation, who's been put on permanent vacation with pay, and also all the insurance settlements. None of that was mentioned, and I'm sure that some of these insurance settlements are going to be big. Hello, caller to New London Republicans.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Vogel. Just two questions or two items. I hear what you're saying about the tax increase, and it's really quite upsetting. Finenzio's been mayor for 3 years, is that correct?
He's going on his fourth year now. The election comes up in December, so he's probably 3.5 years now.
Okay, and in 3.5 years, the Lighthouse Inn has still been sitting there, right?
Yes.
and Fort Trumbull, nothing's happening there. Am I correct?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about Fort Trumbull, but no, it looks like right now there is a contractor that wants to come in and build about 104 units, but unfortunately, they're going to be rentals. So, I'm not sure that that's the bang for the buck that we really want to get out of Fort Trumbull, but that just came up recently, and
So what's been really happening in the city to bring in more revenue or more tax money?
Well, I can't think of anything that brings in more revenue. All I see is revenue leaving. You got businesses, if you had businesses coming into town in a big way, that would give us more revenue. If we had property being developed like Fort Trumbull, that would bring in more revenue. But unfortunately, I don't see anything that's bringing in more revenue except increases in tax. So what happens?
Has the mayor approached Conn College to ask for more money to help us in this situation with the taxes being so high?
Boy, that's a good question because, even just this week.
Or approach Mitchell College or Conn College?
Yeah, the reason that's a good question is because if, in the paper, yesterday or today, the New London Police Department's doing an investigation to find out who's been putting racial type writings on bathroom walls. So, the Conn College depends on New London for police and fire and all these things. You would think like Brown gives to Providence or Yale gives to New Haven. You would think Conn College would give New London $1 or $2 million because of the services provided, but because they don't have to, because they're a nonprofit, they don't. And
has our mayor done anything to try to change that?
I don't know. I think that
does he ever speak to it?
I think Finenzio, had said that he talked to he might have talked to this. He said at one point that he did talk to the president of the college about that, but that was a year or two ago, and I haven't heard boo about it since. But it certainly is something that ought to be done because we're talking about a 12% increase in taxes for a $5 million increase in the budget. If Conn College put in $2 million, that would really make a big difference, and it wouldn't affect them at all. They have over $200 million in their endowment. And so even the interest on that would be more than, the interest on that alone would be probably $10 million.
Maybe we could just send them a tax bill.
And see if they pay it. That's not a bad idea. But unfortunately, no, we don't get much of a break. I think Conn College gives us about $12,500 a year, which is like, thanks guys.
Which is nothing.
And then you had to turn around and you have, I forgot what Mitchell gave us. It seems to me they gave us at least as much as Conn College, but I might be wrong about that. But you do have this, you have almost half the property in New London is off the tax rolls because it's owned by nonprofits or by the government. So, it's
Thank you, Mr. Vogel. I'll continue listening.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So anyway, we've talked a bit about the mayor's budget. And we've tried to explain why the tax increases twice the rate that the budget increases. The budget goes up 6%, your taxes go up 12%. The reason for that is because half the budget is federal or state, and they're not contributing any more. And, why should the taxpayer, you would think that if the governor and the feds aren't giving us any more money, you would think that the mayor would sort of say, well, I can't get, blood out of a turnip, or blood out of a rock, and would do the same thing. But no, not our guys. But anyway, so we've talked a bit about the referendum date and why that's so, pushing off the vote on the budget to November is a slap in the face to the taxpayer because it just, it ignores the whole issue. Hello, the caller, you're New London Republicans.
Good evening, Mr. Vogel.
Hello.
No, I have heard you many times say that you were you understood that Connecticut College gave the city of New London about $12,500. And I have questioned this every time I've heard you say this, because to my knowledge, they pay nothing. And I think if you come up with anything, I think what they're saying is that they feel they contribute in volunteerism by the students and faculty, which amounts to about $12,500. But to my knowledge, there has never been a check from Connecticut College to the city of New London. I mean, you can ask the finance department.
No, you're probably right. I think I probably picked that number up along the way.
I mean, it's deceiving, because at least people will say, well, at least we're getting something from them. And as far as I can understand it, the only thing that we are getting from them is some volunteerism, which doesn't amount to a hill of beans. And actually, Mitchell, although I don't think they're any longer doing it, I think it was under the Mary Ellen Zukowski, of course, who was the last president they had. I think that they had agreed one time to give, and maybe this is where you've come up with that figure of 12.5. I think they had agreed at one point, but remember, this is just one time, and I think it was several years ago, that they were going to pay upwards to about $12,000, but that it was going to be over a 3 or 4 year period. So in actuality, they sent a check roughly of about $3,000 a year. But as I say, that only happened one time, to my knowledge. So actually, we are really, and when people call in and say, well, hasn't the mayor gone and asked them? Sure, he can ask all he wants for Bergeron to give us some money. But she just turns around, as she did last year, and said, we're not able to do that. And then what? So people should stop and think. We have no sword to hang over their heads to say, if you don't pay, we won't do this or that. The laws in the state of Connecticut and the whole nation actually is very clear cut that people like colleges or hospitals or churches supposedly have no commitment, and it's just a moral obligation. So actually, as I say, if you can show me a check, I will stop questioning that. But I think I do know a little bit about the budget in New London, and as far as I know, I have never seen any check for $12.5 coming from Connecticut College, which I think is disgraceful.
Yeah,
well, I'll get off my soapbox. All righty.
I agree. I appreciate you straightening me out on that too. I had thought that was a real check coming in.
Well, I wish they did.
Yeah.
And it just bugs me, because the little bit of volunteerism that they do, like for instance, one day a year when the freshmen come in, they spend 2 or 3 hours down at Riverside Park picking up some weeds. And yes, they do let the kids occasionally from the various New London schools maybe come over across the street from where I live and let them play at the tennis courts. But, that doesn't pay the bills. And they do have more than a moral obligation to this city, which has given them so much, I mean, the land they're sitting on was given to them.
Yeah, you're absolutely
by
right.
New London citizens. Well, anyway, thank you, Mr. Vogel.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Yeah, I know, really, when you think about the fact that they have over a $200 million endowment, and I know they're building some buildings and whatnot, so I'm sure some of that money's coming out of there, but they're still, I'm sure they're doing their fundraising, as we go along. And, if they were making just 5% on their money, which would be reasonable, that'd be over $10 million a year. And would it really hurt them that much to give New London $2 million a year for backing them up on police and fire, roads, and everything else that the city provides to make Conn College, the place that it wants to be? The other thing about Conn College about this is that, Conn College is in the city. And if the city prospers, that's good for Conn College. It makes it a more attractive place to go. If the city is going downhill and is businesses are leaving and crime's increasing and And things like that happen because we don't have enough money to make things work, and that's a possibility over time. You would think it'd be in their best interest to make sure that the city is as good as it can be, and that they're doing as much as they can to help the city. Now, like the caller said, there's no being that they're a nonprofit, they don't have to pay anything. But like the caller said, they do have a moral obligation, and it just is amazing to me that they don't see that, and they just go on, willy-nilly, year to year, and do basically nothing for New London. We appreciate their volunteers, but that really, like the lady said, it doesn't pay the bills, and we really desperately need to pay the bills. So I would hope that eventually they would see the light. The thing that's kind of amazing, I'm sort of getting a little ahead of myself, but speaking of Conn College, I can't believe the president of Conn College, Bergeron, shut down the college for a whole day and made everybody go to lectures because some moron who probably wasn't a student, they think it was a 50-year-old guy with bald, but walking his dog is what they're looking at. Who knows? But so some moron writes some graffiti, some disgusting graffiti in a bathroom, or a couple bathrooms, and they shut down the whole college. I mean, boy, and I guess part of it, it's a double whammy. They had one professor that a year ago put something stupid up on his Facebook, and some student got a hold of it and made a big deal out of it, which, I mean, what he put up there on his personal Facebook was was disgusting. I mean, you just don't you don't call people pit bulls that need to be locked up in a cage. I mean, he was talking about the Palestinians, but that was, even though we know the Palestinians have pulled a lot of stuff over the years, and you got Hamas and Hezbollah and who knows what groups that are terrorizing the Middle East. We know they're a problem, but his choice of words was less than wonderful, but then he was making it on his own personal Facebook page. So anyway, and he apologized and so forth, and so that was unfortunate. So you had sort of one incident of a faculty member saying something stupid on Facebook. I wouldn't call it racist. They were calling it racist, but to say that a group of people that live in a particular geographic area that are throwing rockets all the time at the other guy, they're calling them pit bulls. I don't think that's racist. I mean, that's saying that the Palestinians are bad guys, or maybe terrorists, those kind of things. But because you call somebody a terrorist doesn't mean that you're a racist. I mean, so putting that in that vein I think was kind of stupid. The day sort of implied that Bergeron should have reacted more to that. Well, I'm not so sure. And then they sort of are accusing of her underreacting to the professor's remarks on Facebook and overreacting to the graffiti in the bathrooms. I think she probably handled the professor thing okay. He was, she publicly chastised him by saying that that's not what's expected of Conn College, especially faculty. And then he apologized and those things. So, not such a big deal in my mind. And then the graffiti, I mean, I don't know that I've been anywhere where there hasn't been some graffiti at some time or other in a bathroom that's disgusting. I mean, there's just maybe 1% out there or 0.5% out there of people that are capable of doing stupid things like that. And yes, it's disgusting. It's good if you can catch them, but boy, you don't punish the whole school by making it go to these seminars or whatever they were, these lectures about racism, and then go even so far as to say that the Conn College community is split. Let's see, how did she word it? Let's see. The day's calling anger and pain at Conn College. David Collins got upset about it. She was saying I forget what she said. It was kind of stupid. She's saying that something like the college community's broken or something like that, which is grossly oversaid. Let me see if I can find it. Collins is saying, still, as an alumni of the school, I am troubled by the president's remarks at Monday's forum in which she said the cancellation of classes was an acknowledgement of the fact that we have a broken community. Now, is this lady nuts or what? I mean, how do you call that a broken community because you have two morons? It's I don't know. The trouble with colleges and universities and the liberals generally, I don't know if she's a liberal or not, but the political correctness just goes crazy. I mean, yes, we don't want people saying nasty words. We don't want people saying racist words. Racism is, the whole idea of racism is getting to be too much. We got a black president. I think that by and large, where we are today versus where we've been in the past is like night and day in terms of racial relations. And yet there's people that are expressing gross dissatisfaction like we're back in the 50s again or something. And of course we all know that, things need to get better, but the truth is that probably in 100 years from now, there won't be separate races because they'll all be sort of one race. Eventually over time, that's what's going to happen. So having a whole lot of policies about race is kind of lagging the problem. Hello, caller. You're New London Republicans.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Bill. Good show. I was curious to get off the subject matter here for a minute. I was wondering, Passero's running, Finizio, who are the Republicans putting up to go for mayor this year in New London?
Actually, we're still working on that. So it's, we don't select somebody until July. And actually, that's when the Democrats also select a person. But like you said, the time is nigh for somebody to come, for candidates to come out and start raising money and getting their campaign committees together. And so, we Republicans recognize that we are running behind on that, and we need to get a candidate out there pretty soon. I would like to see several candidates out there pretty soon, but we are running behind on that.
So the Republicans will be putting somebody up for the mayor of New London? Because last I've heard through the grapevine that basically you guys weren't going to be putting up a candidate and you were just going to let the Democrats fight it out.
That's not what I would like to do. What I'd like to do is I definitely want to have a Republican candidate. It's possible that, it's anybody that's, well, as you know, I worked with Rob Pirro last time when he ran, and it was a grueling experience. He really put his heart and soul into it, and it really took up a whole year's time. So there's an obstacle to overcome to get people to agree to run for mayor, especially when the salary may not be that much more than what they're making right now, or it may even be less than what they're making right now. So it's a tricky situation. I don't know for sure that we'll have somebody. I know that we're looking. I know that we want to have somebody, and we want to get a solid candidate. We're not looking, to be honest with you, if we can't come up with somebody that's a solid candidate, I, for one, don't want to see them run because...
So you don't even have any prospects or anybody in the works at this point, and we're about 3 months away from July.
Oh, I agree with you. And I wouldn't say we don't have any prospects, but that doesn't mean that the ones I have in mind will agree to run. And so, the scenario you provided is
right. The picture you're giving right now to those of us out there that are a little concerned about the city is a party that's fought so long, primarily with one candidate out there, Perro, so long on the council, is basically you guys are throwing in the towel and not even looking to put anybody up.
Oh, that's wrong. No, we definitely, let me assure you, we're not throwing in the towel. I can, your concern is appropriate, but your conclusion is not correct. We have not thrown in the... We have not thrown in the towel.
Hope of those out there hear something soon, because, and getting back to your Conn College, the only comment there is the only that importance that has to our current mayor, and probably why he's providing this police investigation, because he relies on the college students when it comes time for registration to put them in office. And I'll close on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, caller. The caller makes a good point. The time for Republican candidates to run for mayor is right now. People should be. If we're going to have some candidates, we need to have them real soon. We can't really afford to wait to July because it takes so much time to just get things rolling. You need to have a campaign manager. You need the hardest thing to get is a campaign treasurer, because the state has a million rules that you got to follow in order to accept money for your campaign, and you can't have a campaign without collecting money. So it's a good point, and I think given the situation that the city's in, we need a solid person with experience more than ever to run for mayor, and that person is not Mayor Finenzio. Mayor Finenzio has really no experience, and it shows, and it's really time for him to go. Mike Passero is a good guy. I like Mike, but I think that we could, I'd like to see us Republicans put up somebody a lot stronger. I'm a little bit worried about, the municipal unions when it comes to, retired city employee. You got to make sure that, the unions aren't running the show. And you got to remember also our Democrats on the city council are the ones that got rid of the responsible contractor ordinance. We had a contractor ordinance where basically you didn't have to have a union shop come in to do contract work for the city. And basically they got rid of that. So now basically if you have any big contracts, you have to give them to a union shop. You can't give them to the lowest bidder or the best bidder or anything. And that's a Democrat thing. So it's excuse me. There's a lot of reasons why you want Republicans in the city council, in the mayorship, and the Board of Ed. I mean, the 6% on the for coming out of the Board of Ed. I mean, I don't know how those guys look themselves in the face on that one. I mean, how do you justify that? So anyway, okay, let's just move along. We talked a little bit about the Fort Trumbull thing, and it's a. I just don't know why we want to go with rentals on Fort Trumbull. Geez, I mean, the problem that we have, the reason why we have basically a one-party system in town is that the people that would be concerned the most about taxes are generally Republicans, but there's a lot of solid conservative Democrats in New London that are that way also. But you would have a lot more Republicans if you had more property owners, because a person that's paying taxes generally wants to be a Republican. That's why if you look all around Connecticut, if you look at a color map where it shows the Republicans and the Democrats, you find that in the cities it's all blue, it's blue, dark blue, and then the surrounding areas in Connecticut are red. And if you look, a lot of the first selectmen and mayors in the smaller towns and so forth are Republicans. But anyway, what I was really getting to is that by not having more property owners in the city, you don't have people that are as directly invested in the city, because they're the ones, they are not paying taxes directly, and as a result they are not going to be paying as close of attention. They're not going to vote in a referendum for budget or taxes, many of them, and so it's really a tough deal. So what we're doing by having more rentals in the Fort Trumbull area, 104 more units, basically, we're not building up a two-party system in the city, and we're not building up property owners, and we're not building up taxpayers. It's not going to improve the city that much. I mean, these might be very nice units. I mean, they're supposed to. It sounds pretty good. I mean, if you look at it, it's the RCDA, which I think is stupid. City, Renaissance City Development Association or something. Why we call it Renaissance City beats the heck out of me, other than that's what Finenzio wanted to call it. The RCDA Executive Committee voted unanimously to send the City Council the Economic Development Committee, a Pennsylvania company's plan for 104 units, $18.4 million residential development in Fort Trumbull. The proposal submitted earlier this month by AR Building Company calls for an 80-unit urban living apartment building, two 12-unit townhouse buildings with integrated parking garage, a clubhouse, and a common area, and a fitness room, and an outdoor pool. So, I mean, it could be very nice. I mean, but I don't know why they are going with the rentals. You'd think they'd go with maybe condos if they're going to go direction of a big building. But I'd really like to see it broken up into lots and have builders come in and build houses, and have people actually own their house. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. The mayor came up with this idea of the Kilo site. I don't know. I'd be interested in what you think about that. I don't know. I mean, the whole Fort Trumbull deal, taking the eminent domain there, was obviously didn't work out, and certainly was inappropriate, taking property from people for economic development, especially weak economic development. It was really pretty gross. But putting aside a little spot of land for the Kilo site, I don't know about that one. One of the things that's really good news here, and we got just a minute or two, this is really good news for this area. And we've talked a little bit about it before, but there's really another good article in the paper this last week. EB's hiring, and they're going to be hiring big. When I was at EB, I was there a couple times. There was over 20,000 people that worked at EB when I used to be there. And now I think there's only like maybe 12,000, if that. Might be less than that because, see, they have the numbers in here someplace. Back in the early 90s, the trades had about 9,000 workers compared to about 2,400 right now. When I was there, the totals were more like 20,000. I mean, we had a lot of people at EB back in the, when, there was a, hate to tell you because it makes me look old, but in the 60s and 70s, when we were building all the attack submarines, and particularly the SSBNs, we had tremendous amount of work going on at EB. And it's nice to see that they're looking forward to building the enhanced Virginia-class submarine and the Trident replacement submarines. And they're going to be they think they're going to be hiring in the neighborhood of like 300 people a year. And it goes on, it says, in addition to the expected 330 new jobs each year, EB will have to hire about another 250 workers to replace those who will retire or leave for other reasons, for a total of nearly 600 openings annually. The employment growth is expected to begin at the company's Quonset Point, Rhode Island facility, where large sections of halls are assembled in 2018 and then in Groton in 2020. So I don't know. I'm really happy to see that. That's going to bring a lot of good-paying manufacturing jobs to Connecticut and to this area. And that's a I'll never forget EB working there, going up that big hill, coming to the main gate there. It's kind of ironic because it's easy going down, it's easy going to work, but it's hard leaving. And I saw the picture again. And I remember those days going up and down that hill. I was in the Navy then on a submarine, and we were constructing the Francis Scott Key, which was an SSBN, and then later on the USS Groton, which carried the local colors, which I was pleased to be able to do. But anyway, so that's good news. Let's see, we're just about out of time. I guess I wanted to talk about Malloy and his freedom of religion thing. I think Malloy is such a crazy. What he did is he told the state can't fund people going to Indiana because of the freedom of religion thing, when Connecticut has the same law. Hey, good night. See you next week. Thank you.